Hello, thanks for tuning in again. So a friend of mine asked me the other day if I would go and speak at a festival. It's a middle class festival. And they want to represent the working class and they mean well, they're well intended with good heart and good mind and I trust it and it's all beautiful. But I was asked to go and speak, from the perspective of a working class philosopher. And, so let me, establish right now what a working class philosopher is. It's a human philosopher. There is no such thing as a working class philosopher or a middle class or an upper class philosopher. There are just philosophers, the artistic minds on this planet, who are trying to shape things in a different way, in a more colourful way, in a more beautiful way, in a more concrete way, in a way that we can all hold accord by. So yeah, a working class philosopher, the pawn on the board speaking to the bishops and the kings and the knights and so on. A working class philosopher. But I was born into that paradigm, I've been born into a paradigm of working class, middle class, upper class, or other parts of the world we have the caste system. Okay, it's a caste system over here too. And it's not spoken about in the same way, it's not acted upon in the same way as it was, say, 100 years ago or 50 years ago, but it's still acted upon, okay? They keep their distance from us now, okay? They operate behind walls and they don't come out to meet us and they don't, we don't bow our hats to them anymore. Well, some mugs still do, less. But so for the sake of argument and for the sake of flow here, okay, I am working class, okay? Right now, I am a transcendental class, okay? I've moved away from the old paradigm, just to make that clear. I've transcended it all, okay? And I don't even know what human is because I can't find a first order predicate, so I can't fully premise it. So all I know is there's some kind of a transcendental lens in my head that sees systemically, and I want to know more about what that is. And so in relation to, the revolution I'm bringing and I'm part of, I am about the revolution of that all-seeing eye within. What is it? From a phenomenological point of view, we're trying to understand the structures of the mind and what the purpose of the mind and so on. In behind psychology, in behind neurology, phenomenology gets into the mechanics of the mind, the system of the mind, okay? It's trying to understand where the mind is plugged in, how is it locked down into an ontological verse and so on. So yes, so just inspecting the mind in the most purest abstract sense so we can understand the engine within all, this one single unifying engine that is within all. And my revolution, I'm trying to revolve around that because I've evolved around that. And the truth is when it comes to revolution, we've all been in a state of revolving. We're always revolving as a species. We have the system as a self-correcting mechanism, okay? The all-seeing systemic eye is a self-correcting mechanism. It has an organizational mode built into it and an optimizing mode and an identifying mode. So we identify and we optimize and so on and we organize our minds around it when we integrate with certain fixed positions that serve our species as a whole. So yes, my revolution's about that. We are all revolving all the time and we've been revolving, we're revolving in relation to knowledge, we revolve around our evolutionary status, okay? We've come to understand that we've evolved out of a quagmire, out of a soup, primordial soup into this body and so on, okay? And we've revolved our minds around that evolutionary bed of knowledge, okay? As kids, we revolve around phonetic sounds and we start to identify and evaluate and add up that which has meaning and that which means something to us, family members and friends and environment and so on. So we're always revolving, okay? Our species is in a full, as Tony Boyson, my great friend, said, revolution's in full flow. We're revolving and revolving and revolving. On another note, we always say history is repeating itself. Well, history has to repeat itself too. We just don't want the corruption to repeat itself. Okay, let's be clear about that. Okay, I'm glad autumn repeats itself, and I'm glad winter and summer and spring repeat themselves. And I'm glad the caterpillars repeat themselves and turn into butterflies. Okay, and I'm glad of the ants repeating themselves. And our human species, we're kind of in a state of iteration. We repeat and we repeat and we repeat, and that's important because that's what keeps evolution persisting and moving and modifying onto the next phase and the next stage as it slowly revolves around all that is given. So I want to get you to revolve around that, okay? To revolve around a higher evolutionary status of what it means to be man, woman and child and animal and plant on this beautiful rock. So yeah, revolution's a big word, and the day of the pitchfork and the burning down the palace are over. It doesn't serve anything, and the fact is to go up against a beast violently is a waste of time, okay? You're going up against the most brutal monster the planet has ever known, okay? A monster that can make a T-Rex look like a bug, okay? The brutal force that the elite use to maintain order. I truly believe that's the case in play. They use force and propaganda and stealth, and it's a narcissistic world of jackals. But anyway, they're there, and we have to revolve away from them because we can't come knocking on their door anymore. The foxes don't want to know the chickens. The chickens cannot keep going to the palace and expecting, you know, a healthy outcome. Okay, it's not going to happen ever. So, but we can't attack them, and I don't want to attack them. I'm a pacifist. I'm all about love. But you know, we have to put down the pitchfork, and we have to, you know, recalibrate the mind in a higher way, and we have to outgrow this paradigm. The answers are in outgrowing it. And you know, so you know, I mean, my son, you know, I legitimize reality for him. I never legitimized the system of law. He knows now, he's only 11, but he's starting to know how corrupt the system is. He knows all the good in the system because I bring all the good to him in the world, in nature system. Okay, but he knows what the king and the queen and the shiny hat and the shoe and the chandelier are all about. Okay, he's starting to come to terms with that because I'm educating him in the proper way, in the proper manner. I'm structuring him around what is the case, what is given, as opposed to what is pseudo and made up and without structure, and so on. So yeah, revolution. So the revolution is in full flow, and revolution is going to take eons. There's no overnight success story on this table. Okay, there's small revolutions taking place every day. You hug your child, there's a small revolution taking place in that. You love your child every day, and your child grows up to be a good man and woman that helps to change the world in regards to how we use food, well, in a more beautiful, environmentally safe manner. Well, then revolution is in the hug from the beginning. So we're all revolving and helping. And every time you hug and love and say something positive, every time you fill somebody's mind with something positive, okay, you're in a state of revolving around what is given. Okay, so keep up the good work. But anyway, yes, so that's my revolution. And you know, my revolution is a revolution of phenomenology and ontology and epistemology. Okay, they're the channels I go down to understand our species, and there's many other channels great minds are going down so we can understand our species and revolve around what is given. Okay, to revolve around what is given. And like I said, we can't go up against the beast. But you know, on this day we can make small changes too as we wait for the eons to pass. Okay, we don't have to keep legitimizing, you know, the kings on the board. There's 8 pawns on each side of the chessboard, and I'm all about uniting the 16 pawns. That's what revolution's about. And we unite the 16 pawns and bring the jackal back to our table with love and dignity and honor. Because if you want to come to our table, then revolve around the tenets of love and honor and dignity and positivity and friendship and circle. Okay, these are important notions built into us, a priori notions, because they hold us up. They hold us up. And we're robbing each other, and we're riding each other's backs, and we're fucking each other over, and we're pissing in the pond, and we're pissing in our children's pond, and we're polluting, and for what? So we can have mansions and chandeliers and shiny shoes and private jets and butlers and maids. It's fucking pathetic. It's beneath us, okay? When it comes to the weight of knowledge, you can see how pathetic it is. Okay, if your idea of wealth is wanting a bigger house and a bigger car, then you will be impressed by the chandelier and the shoes, because that's, your mind has been colonized to think that way. There's a certain amount of wealth heuristics planted in your mind, and you believe wealth is the mansion and fame and status, and you have a butler and 10 maids and 50 cars and 500 diamond rings and 5,000 bedrooms, and you know, but that's just, but when you measure it against how I flow, okay, and I'm not bragging this up, this is a reality. When you measure it against Henry Thoreau or Kant, okay, when you measure it against Heidegger, when you measure it against Einstein, when you measure it against the knowledge and the wealth of knowledge that we have, these things are insignificant. These things are not of the mountain, okay, and I'm of the mountain. I'm standing on the back of giants. And so, you know, we have to re-engage with what wealth is, and so we can stop, you know, legitimizing pseudo wealth. Okay, so, you know, we can look down on it. The 16 pawns can turn and look at the king and the queen and the knight and look down on them, that they act in such small ways. Okay, let the giants dwarf them for a change. That they act in such small ways, and that they chase such small paths, that they want mansions and hats and shoes and chandeliers, and they want people to worship them, and that's pathetic. And we must deem it accordingly, and we must act on it. Okay, we really must act on it, because that's part of the revolution, to regain language, to regain the beauty of language and how we talk about one another. We've got to stop legitimizing the class system, okay, and the idea that we're split into 3 different categories, a person or a caste system and so on. We must stop legitimizing it, because it's we're strangled by it in our narratives. You know, the way we talk, we bow down. It's still in the nuance of language. It's disgusting in us. It's small than us. It's insignificant in us. Okay, so we need to revolve around that too. We need to revolve around what is the case. Because we need to take back ownership of ourselves, and we need to take back ownership of dignity and intelligence and refinement. More importantly, we need to take back ownership and say, if you are not these tenets carried in the right wholesome way, then you are not at our table in a wholesome way, and therefore you are beneath. Okay, our arrogance and vulgarity, the table of the narcissist, not of me. Okay, I'm big enough to bring them back and give them all hugs and love. But if you act in an arrogant way, if you act and you lord it above people and you think you're better than people and so on, and you pretend like the lie isn't in place, well then, you know, you're not at my table of refinement. Or else what the fuck is refinement, and what is intelligence, okay, and what is nobility, and what is dignity, okay? So we've got to revolve around these words too. We've got to revolve back around what sacredness is, you know, to be sacred by one another, to treat one another with absolute respect, not to put art and diamond and shoe and chandelier above one another, not to put mansion and car and false pseudo-status above a child, ever. That's what revolution's about. So, you know, this is my pitchfork and I'm sticking it straight into your fucking brain. The brain of the narcissist, the brain of the vulgar, okay? Checkmate at the table. The game is over. You're at the dirty end of the board. And so join the 16 pawns. I'm uniting the 16 pawns because that's my revolution. I want to unite all people. But we've got to unite as a collective head, you know, and delegitimize all that is false among us. So yeah, revolve around that. You know, like I said, revolution's in full flow, and revolution is a big verse, and it needs more debate. I must get back to this flow actually, you know, and fatten it out, because it needs more text and substance and more significance, so you can wear it in your heart and move forward on that wave. Anyway, I hope you've taken something from that. That's what my revolution is. That's what a working class revolution is about. Okay, we're about taking back the round table, peace and love and logic.